Checking my microphone real quick here. All right, welcome to today's episode of A Stage Reborn Live, Episode 3, Roleplay Reborn. I'm here with special guests with MuseCast, but first we're going to bring in a little bit of A Stage Reborn news. And what I find really helpful is if I actually had my outline up so I could know what I'm supposed to talk about. Way to go, Wanderer. For those that are just tuning in or tuning later, you'll notice we are in-game in Final Fantasy XIV right now. We are on the Gilgamesh server, which is the Aether Data Center, in the Lavender Beds 9th Ward, Plot 3, in this beautiful-looking studio theater that we just set up. Oh, we've got a couple guests already. Gonna wave to them if I can get my camera to work here. We have a couple guests out in the audience. Feel free to drop by if you feel so inclined. So, A Stage Reborn news. For those that are brand new to the stream and wondering what is A Stage Reborn, we recently had some few threads on Reddit and things go out, so there's possibly some new viewers. Stage Reborn is a 501c3 nonprofit creating programs and activities to offer alternative and transformative visual and performing arts opportunities and professional development. All of our info is on astagereborn.com. You can look at the description of the video here with all our info and links, and we're also going to update the saved video with all the info about MuseCast coming up that you're going to hear about. So recently we added a new member to our team, so I would like to give a shout out to our good friend and our new program manager for our programs and activities team, Sean. Sean is going to be working with us on expanding a lot of our visual and performing arts program to get out there and do more, not just stage plays, but things that really engage the visual and performing arts in multiple mediums. So, I had a whole bunch of stuff queued up about A Midsummer Night's Dream, and I realized I'm looking at the episode 2 outline. Way to go, me. It's been a long weekend, folks. So...
Don't tell anyone.
Well, I can tell you this, auditions for A Midsummer Night's Dream are definitely open.
Definitely open, and that is for those that tuned in early and were at the waiting screen. I showed you one of those posters out there. There's actually, if you go to all of our individual social media things, you'll notice there's a different poster on each one. So go and take a look if you haven't. Maybe you saw the one on Reddit, maybe you saw the one on Twitter, maybe you just saw the one on Tumblr. Go check them out. There's a whole bunch of them, and there's going to be more coming out as the show gets put together with show dates and the full cast. So auditions, go to asr.to/talent, ASR2 talent. That'll tell you all about auditioning for us if you're interested in the shows. Thank you for the follow there, Rich. Thank you. Thank you for supporting the arts. If anybody wants to follow us or subscribe, feel free to do so for more info on Midsummer as we get up to it. There's going to be a world event coming out as well, probably just before Midsummer drops, and that's going to be Aperture Lab number A5R Savage. This has been one of the... Thank you, Koji, for the follow. This is going to be... We've gotten a lot this week, and this is going to be a hectic day. Oh boy. So we've got a world event, and what a world event is, it's something we do to try and get the community together to think creatively, think outside the box, and maybe test their performing arts or visual arts skills, or just their savvy with gaming. Aperture Lab Savage is a sort of multiple mini games that's going to lead you up to a room where you basically have a tabletop RPG, much like D&D, a tabletop RPG battle against a giant robot, and you can win prizes based off your party's remaining HP. Watch out for the trailer on that and additional details, which are going to drop on June 14th. I think I put a Twitter poll out there trying to see if people wanted to guess when it was coming out, but June 14th is when it's going to come out. If you want to see the trailer, if you are subscribed to our Patreon or you're one of our VIPs, you have access to the trailer. It's on our VIP room in Discord, the leak room on Discord, that if you tie your Discord account to your Patreon account, you get access to it. So the trailer's out there. The trailer's also posted to the Patreon page. It's the Proscenium Friends tier, I believe. It's $3 a month to support the arts, and you get sneak peeks and leaks of all the stuff that's coming up before the public finds out. So definitely worth checking out if you're interested. Everything that we get, it goes towards supporting visual and performing arts projects that we put on, transforming the arts and making opportunities more accessible. So, Gaming with the Stage Reborn, that's our other stream that we did. We have a small update. We're working on a version 2 of the campaign that's going to focus on micro creativity, small submissions, and big shoutouts. We noticed a lot of people might have limited time to participate in world building for, they might want to run a D&D campaign, but they're like, there's no way I can draw that many maps, make all these tokens, do all this stuff. You got to work full time. Maybe you have kids to take care of. Maybe you have a physical condition that makes it so doing that much art is just really hard on you and it takes time. So what we're trying to do with this next campaign coming out for our D&D stream is we're going to go out to the community and we're going to say, do you want to contribute in small amounts? And everyone is going to be able to sway the campaign by contributing their creativity. We might go out there and create a character and leave it to you to create the lore, to create the look of this character, or even to create role tables. There's all sorts of things you can do. During our last campaign, we had a bit about interjecting NPCs, where they would just appear in the campaign, and they were these fun characters to play with and voice, and just kind of distract us and or even motivate us to do certain things in the campaign. You know, you might be interested in playing a character, but all you want to do is voice act. You don't actually want to roll and everything. That'll be an opportunity you can do as well. So keep your ears peeled for that. There's going to be announcements from our VP, Pat. He's going to be doing a lot more with that. So other than that, we have staff openings on the team as well. We're specifically looking for people on the PR team to help with volunteer work with HR. When we have volunteers, you know, there's a bit of boring paperwork that needs to get done. We could use some support with that. But then we're also looking for help with fundraising, as well as programs and activities with artists and specialists, such as supporting our streaming activities. If you're interested in any of that, go to stagereborn.com and go under the join section, the volunteer section. Just like you see the ASR to donate link on the screen right now, you can actually go to ASR to join, and that'll take you there to all the listings. So enough rambling there from me. The next thing I'm going to show you is the upcoming show of Stellazio Virtual Theater, The Little Prince. Now, we played this trailer last month, so those that have missed it, you're going to get to see it again. I've got some information posted on there to let you know the show dates, the show times, and locations. Today is going to be a pretty Final Fantasy heavy episode, because this production is also taking place in Final Fantasy XIV on the Diablo server. So without further ado, I will bring up the trailer. It's a beautiful little trailer there. So I posted the link to their Discord server in our YouTube chat. You can go there and check them out for more information. But yeah, that's coming up this weekend, June 7th through 9th. So definitely check them out. A Stage Reborn's going to go there. We're going to watch the show. I know a bunch of people are looking forward to it, so hopefully we'll see you there too. So, moving on from our VIP into our topics, so this is where we're getting into Roleplay Reborn. And with us on Gilgamesh here, we have Emmy, also known as Scoot. On the screen, the initials are SP. And then we also have Remix Sakura with us, both from MuseCast. The initials on the screen there are NM for the character. I kind of tried to make it so you could recognize, you know, when somebody's talking, reference what character they are in the game here. So I'll go ahead and open it up to introductions. If you'd like to introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about you, what you do.
Introductions, you say?
Yes.
I guess I'll go ahead and start. So, hi, my name is Emmy. You might have seen me around, actually, those of you who are in the Stage Reborn Discord, as Nanamo. And that's because in-game you can find me, of course, as Scoot, who you see on the screen right now, on Gilgamesh and Balmung servers, and also as Nanamo on basically a whole slew of servers. Gilgamesh, Balmung, Lich, Excalibur, Pandemonium, Tonberry, Ultima, and of course Diabolos. Basically, yeah, I have a lot of characters, but above all, I'm proud staff member of a Stage Reborn, and the reason why I'm here today, of course, is I'm one of the 2 co-hosts of MuseCast14, along with my lovely co-host Remix Sakura.
That would be me. Is that my cue?
That is your cue.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. I'm the other half of MuseCast14, Remix Sakura. I make my home here on the Gilgamesh server since 2013, since almost the beginning of the game. And I think it's always surprising to see that all of us, how we're into RP. We're not on Balmung here, but we're on Gilgamesh. And I think that I'm always really proud of my server. I handle a lot of the front-facing, public-facing aspects of MuseCast14, the Twitter, the social media, talking to people, doing the behind-the-scenes emailing, arranging interviews, researching for episodes, getting in contact with people who have information that we don't. In-game, I have 5 characters that I play with some activeness. I try to balance them out. A varied activeness. We got this character on the screen. His name is Natsuki McCatboy. I know that's not a lore compliant name, but I created it when I first joined the game in 2013. I had no idea about roleplay. I had no idea about lore. All I knew is I wanted to play a Catboy, and it just sounded funny to me. And I've never changed it.
So here we are.
Yes. I have 2 NPC characters, 1 original character, and who else? And then one character that's sort of an avatar of myself. So at least 1 in each data center, including the light data center in Europe.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time over there. So yeah, that's a little bit of... Oh, go ahead.
As far as our roles at MuseCast, while I take care of the front-facing stuff and communication and research, Emmy takes care of our audio.
Yep, you pretty much spoke for me there. Remix does a lot of our social media, a lot of our podcast descriptions and stuff like that, but between the 2 of us, we make a full podcast.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about, I know a lot of users that we have on our stuff know what MuseCast is, but for those that aren't about here, tell us a little bit about MuseCast, your history, your purpose.
Let's see. So MuseCast was always created to be just a podcast that had everything to do with role-playing within Final Fantasy XIV, within Eorzea. And we've stuck to that since we started... How long ago was that? 3 years ago? 4 years ago?
A little over 3 years. We just had our 3-year anniversary.
Yeah, so we have sought to cover things that really relate to characters, to world building. We talk a lot about lore. We talk a lot about... What else? Just topics that are related to role-playing. Things like server choice. Things like running events that are roleplay related in game. So it's kind of a niche podcast overall, but because it's such an open-ended subject, we really don't run out of things to talk about, which is really nice.
And we've had a pretty good reception from the sort of more mainstream podcasts and a lot of support. What's funny is that within the RP community, we're just now kind of getting known. I think that through Menphina Madness, which we'll talk about a little bit later, a lot of people on Balmung are finding about us for the first time. And that's supposed to be the hub of roleplay, and they had no idea that there was, for 3 years, a podcast about FF14 roleplay.
I know,
it is kind of strange.
It can be surprising. We've encountered that with a Stage Reborn a lot, where sometimes, we'll even just this weekend where we, get the word out there a bit more about what we do, and then there's a lot of people that are just like, I had no idea anything like this existed.
But I mean, the RP community is really who we serve, who we target. Even though we make our episodes as general purpose as we can, so that they could be interesting to someone who doesn't roleplay or is just new to it or is just interested in learning about it. We're pretty generalist friendly. We try not to get too obscure with our topics, and maybe that's one of the reasons for our success and our support from other podcasts, because they can listen to our stuff and not be totally confused.
Yeah, a lot of people I think of roleplay as like this entire other, just this sort of us versus them thing. And the interesting thing is both of us actually do a lot of things outside of just roleplay. You can see right now because Midsummer promotional pictures came out, and you can see Scoot right now in the puck costume. I mean, I do ASR. I do a lot of acting. Within ASR, I do, at one point I raided. I do a lot of crafting, I do a lot of gathering, really more gathering. Natsuki's the crafter of the two of us.
Oh yeah, I'm like a serious business, super serious business crafter.
Yeah, but really the whole point of this is, though, we do a lot of things outside of just roleplay. And so roleplay can be something that really anybody can take part in. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that takes up the entirety of your game. And so I think with the podcast, the way that we make it, we want to make it accessible to everyone because, well, everybody can roleplay. Just like anybody can get into any sort of art as well. You know, role-playing and writing is an art in itself.
Yeah, it's part writing, part imagination, part, collaboration with others. And a little bit of dice rolling here and there just to spice things up.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna jump around here just a little bit and talk about your current and upcoming stuff that you've been doing, that you do, and kind of also ask you to, tell us a little bit about, for somebody who might be brand new to what is MuseCast, what would somebody going to MuseCast for the first time, to your website, listening to your podcast, what would they expect to come across, and then what other things would be coming up in the future for them to look forward to?
I guess it depends on the perspective that they're coming from. Are they coming from a serious roleplay background, or are they coming from an RP curious background?
I'd probably say curious.
Well, you'll find our first episode, we meant to be a very seminal intro to FF14 roleplay, and I've linked that so many times to people that are expressing interest in trying RP for the first time. Shameless plugging, I know, but it still holds up 3 years later as a very good example of just us breaking everything down very, very simply. This is how you get started. This is how it works. And it's just not all that different than the way that we know role-playing games in tabletop, in any other MMO. For the person that's probably currently role-playing, to a certain level of seriousness, you'll find a lot of info to, like our episodes about etiquette, about god modding, about holding events, about featuring small servers. I mean, though, with the world visit system, that's almost become a moot point, almost, because there are no longer any servers that are isolated in the corner. They're separated out from roleplay. There might be more roleplay on one data center than another, but there's still going to be enough people coming together. Like on Aether, like there's plenty of roleplays on Aether. Like, we don't have to be Crystal.
Yeah,
definitely.
it's a little bit weird because things have changed recently because of the world visit system. That whole dynamic has really shaken up. To put it in terms of Shadowbringers here, they have thrown wide the gates, and anybody can pass into any sort of server that they would like to go to now.
Mm-hmm.
But to be more specific, we have audio format episodes that are anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes long. And we currently have 37 of them, plus a couple of extra specials where we do voice RP.
Yeah, voice RP.
So we actually act out as, like, doing the radio drama, like acting as characters.
That sounds really, really fun.
It's a lot of fun. It involved a lot of voice acting on our parts too, and in some cases we had to reach out to other friends of ours, other content creators even, and said, hey, do you want to roleplay as Thancred, for example? Or do you want to voice as Thancred for this? Or hey, do you want to voice Raban? So it's kind of interesting because we ourselves are writing the scripts for these, just like any kind of short mini skit, and we just decided we're gonna put this in. It's kind of cool because when we were creating MuseCast, the reason why I think we were able to put it into a podcast form so easily was because at the time, like, I had the means to do it. Before doing MuseCast, and I still do this to this day, I had been involved in voice acting, and so that kind of just I want to say it drew Remix into voice acting in a way too. I hope you've enjoyed it.
A little bit.
So now, speaking of the way the worlds are changing in the game, out of the game, the way that people are able to come together now, especially with, at least in 14, with the, cross-world stuff, what are your aspirations for the future as MuseCast?
Oh, goodness. Well,
more
big
interviews.
Yeah, big thing would be more interviews. All I can say is, Koji Fox, we are coming for you. We would love, love, love to pry his brain and kind of get a look at what it's like building the world of FF14, and also what it's like developing a lot of the things that kind of were implemented recently to help support role playing. So things like the role playing tag or estate tags. Yeah, just there's a lot of things that we'd like to poke his brain about and kind of see if we can get some information from him about what the roleplay community is like across different data centers and all that.
I mean, I've met him at 2 different fan fests for like very, very brief periods of time and had short conversations, but not going into detail about what was said, I can say for sure that he is a big supporter of the roleplay community. He really believes in us and is always thinking of us. And I love that. We love you, Daddy Koji. And he loves us.
We love you. Anyway, so Koji Fox is the first person. It would also be neat if we could sit down with like Oda-san. I think that's more of a distant goal, but yeah, definitely more interviews in terms of what we would like to do in the future. Let's see, aside from that, I'm really not sure.
We never got to we never got to talk about the origin story, which is kind of funny.
Oh yeah, the origin of MuseCast14?
Yeah.
Can we talk about that on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, please do.
So we just talked about the future. Let's go back to the history.
All the way back to the beginning of MuseCast14. Actually, even before that, you want to talk about... we met because of roleplay. Actually, I had been posting a lot of pictures. I like posting pictures of Scoot and Nanamo and all my characters. And Nanamo at the time was a pretty new character. And I was just posting pictures of Nanamo on Lich. And at the time, and to an extent, it's still the same. But the FC that I had at the time was made for NPC role players. And Remix stumbled across one of the posts, or maybe several of the posts, and thought it was kind of interesting and decided that she wanted to join in on Lich. And we decided, I think because of our shared love of Eorzean Alliance leaders, she decided to roleplay as Melva Blipispen, or the Admiral of Umsalaminsa. So that was how we met. Remix, do you want to go into how the podcast got started, though?
That's how we met and how we started role-playing together. And then we both had our mains on Gilgamesh, so it was pretty easy to connect. As far as the inspiration for the podcast, that goes to me because it came out of me being pissed off. It came out of me listening to other content creators and podcasts talk about the story in a way that I felt was very dismissive. Now, I'm a Final Fantasy series fan. This is my first MMO, but by far not my first Final Fantasy game. I started this game because it's a Final Fantasy game, not because it's an MMO. And so, like, the Final Fantasy storytelling style means a lot to me, and it hurt to hear so-called like podcasters and content creators and streamers get things wrong, not even pretend to pronounce characters' names correctly, not care about getting lore details right. That's just like, what are you? It's like, come on. You're just here for the video game, I guess. You're not here for the story. Well, I'm here for the story, and I want to stand up for the story.
Yeah, and like especially some of the interpretations of the characters I think were a little bit misguided.
Yeah.
And so
there was one
with the two of us,
there was one fellow who said something I didn't like about a character I loved, and oh boy.
There was something said about like Kane Senna isn't a fighter, for example.
Roro wasn't a fighter. Somebody
out
there
there also wasn't a fighter. Yeah, so it was just
somebody out there who will remain nameless said Roib is not a fighter, and I really wanted to punch my screen.
So basically, she disagreed to put it a little bit mild, and she was just kind of ranting in was it Skype or Discord at the time, whatever chat platform we were on. And so she was like, I wish we could do something. If we did it, or if I did it, it would be so different. We would talk about the characters and everything. And I was like, you know what? Let's do it. I think we could do this.
Yeah.
So we just kind of jumped into it, and then we went into like all these lore episodes about the city-states, of course.
Yeah, that's where we started out, and after covering pretty much every city-state that we could, we did Alamingo a little bit later as more info came out. We've done interviews scattered here and there. We've done also a lot of meta topics, just talking about RP as an art and how it works in 14. And I don't know, somehow we've come up with 37 episodes, and we're still nowhere near done with things to talk about.
Oh, and I'm sure over the years, as there's new expansions, new quest lines, all sorts of new things, it's gonna be pretty much as endless as the game itself.
Pretty much. Our Google Doc we have in progress with just like episode notes. It goes on and on and on. And the backlog of episodes that we want to make just keeps on increasing.
Oh yeah, I mean, and besides that, just seeing the ripple effects, just seeing people's feedback has been really, really encouraging. A couple of people have told us that we're the reason they got into roleplay. They're listening to us, like, convince them to try it. And that's crazy to think that like I had an impact, or we had an impact on someone's gameplay life, and now life is better for it because RP is enriching their experience, just like it can do for anyone. Just like the support that we get from like our greatest fans, like the people that are always in our Discord, is crazy, and I feel like we've actually managed to like impact something, for at the very least get more visibility for RP. And I think one of the things that's always going to be with us is representing the RP community against all of the stereotypes it has. Everything from role players are bad at content, to all role players do is the RP, to all role players are on Bonbong. We want to crush every one of those stereotypes.
And now I think a great way, especially for those that might be on stream here watching and a little skeptical about things, being like, well, I don't know about stereotypes, I'm going to believe them. Maybe we should talk about Menphina Madness and Score for a Cause, because that is, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's entirely roleplay. I mean, outside of the mechanics of scoring goals, but that's an entirely roleplay event.
It is. It's a really interesting event in itself because, like, so I'm sure if you play FF14, a lot of people have been musing about, well, what would happen if Square Enix implemented Blitzball into the game?
Which came from FF10, of course.
Yeah, it's like, wouldn't it be so cool if they had Blitzball? Well, what this group decided to do was they wanted to make a Blitzball tournament. And so they did. Using the in-game mechanics like random rolls, they created their own rules, and they then got a bunch of people together to form different teams. And at this point, it's an 8-team tournament. Just lots of people, and people coming from all over Crystal Data Center. And in our case, we took our characters and put them onto Crystal. And it's this really cool coming together of all sorts of people to watch this, and also in this case to raise money for charity as well.
Indeed. I would even see it that the dice rolling part, that's also part of RP, because think of tabletop RP. Like, that's how, half of that is based on dice rolling. RP, like tabletop RP, MMORPGs in general, they all have the same roots.
It's all a roll of the dice, but like in this case, it's a 999 side die.
Yeah, D1000.
D1000.
Yeah, but other than the random rolls that the players do to determine who moves where, who blocks, who scores, they give these are players who are characters that have personalities, and these teams have images. Like the Ulda team is like the capitalist assholes, and the Garlemald team hates everybody, and like they're playing it up. They are role playing at the same time they're playing the game.
Yeah, and like even with the Ulda team, for example, because I've had a lot of opportunities to interact with them, like within their own stories, they're trying to uphold this team's image, but not all the players are like that. At the same time, though, like with upholding the image, you have teams that are just way, way out there. We have a team of mascots. All of them are wearing, for example, Moogle head, or a Namazu head, or a snowman head. And it's really interesting to try and keep up like this image of a team, this spectacle of a sport. And what results is just this really, really entertaining game for everybody who's watching.
And there's so much history and backstory. Some of the people that have helped us commentate have helped us fill in the details. But I mean, these aren't characters that were created for Blitzball. These are characters that already exist, are in the Bulbun community, have entire histories and backstories and things that have happened to them, and now part of their story is just playing Blitzball. So there's rivalries, there's relationships, and wet nets of intrigue going around. I mean, this is just another extension of these people's roleplay.
And what's wonderful,
bringing, characters that are already rich, and bringing them into this game.
And what's really wonderful too to think about is that this is something, and people are here doing this event, role playing, doing something that they do on a regular basis. They go and they play, they play these characters. Maybe they participate in events and activities that involve dice roll games and stuff, but they are doing something that they do for their own entertainment, for their own writing, and so on and so forth, and now they're here doing it for charity. What an application of that creativity. Because I'll be honest, when I first heard of what they were doing here and I looked into it, it never crossed my mind that outright role-playing activities could be used as a charity drive.
Absolutely. And this is the second year that this tournament has been run. They raised money last year as well.
And it goes to show that when people think of role playing, what role playing is, why people role play, I think the biggest stereotype is that role playing is something people do because it was something fun, and they keep doing it because there's some people out there that are just like, oh, it's fun because you get to play make believe, but there's all sorts of different reasons and ways and benefits of doing it. One of them being the charity that's going on, which I also linked it into the YouTube chat here. So anybody who wants to look into it, take a look at them. Take a look at how these roleplay teams that are playing each of the teams, they even have sponsors, and we're talking real charity here. This is actual fundraising going on for a charity for to write Love on Her Arms. So definitely check it out.
Definitely. I've just been super impressed by everything from like the game mechanics to like the entertainment value. I mean, it's just like any sport, it's entertainment, and then we're doing it for a good cause. And what's been really cool is that you said that each of the 8 teams has a real world sponsor, which is one of the podcasts in FF14. For example, MuseCast is the sponsor of the Old Out team. Go Gil Turtles.
Go Gil Turtles. But I mean, it's not just us though. It's not just role-playing content creators who have chosen to do this. We have Maelstrom Radio, who at one point was an FF14 podcast, but now they're just a general gaming podcast. So they encompass FF14, but they're supporting role players within FF14. And we have She Heals, I Tank is another one. We have other content creators like Aetherflow Media. They aren't even a podcast, but they're still willing to help out, these role players and help a good cause, because these role players, at the end of the day, yeah, they do it for fun, but we're all just coming together for this cause.
Yeah, and we've streamed every Blitzball game so far, but there was a weekend that they had a rally that I could not attend because I was away. And so Phoenix Sound Radio streamed it. So it's like Phoenix Sound Radio streamed an RP event. It's like, wow. That really struck me. Like, RP is for everybody. If that doesn't prove that RP is for everybody, I don't know what does.
And worst case scenario, okay, say you don't want to roleplay. You can still, just like a spectator at any kind of show would, just sit there and watch the game and applaud, because it's still a spectacle to see. You're still reading something, and all these people involved are just telling this one big giant story. So it's entertaining and it's accessible.
Absolutely. And so what are some of the other things, this is starting to dive more into the discussion of, Roleplay Reborn and all the things that roleplay can do for people or can be. What other things? I know perform the bard action on Final Fantasy XIV. That's been a popular thing with role players that have a music background. That's actually one of the things I do with my Balmung character. Is I will plug in my MIDI keyboard and I will go and I will actually be a wandering minstrel, because I use it as an excuse to motivate myself to practice on piano. I've got this really nice Roland and I'm just like, I should definitely use it and keep my skills sharp. Why not get myself tied up as a performer in some events, so that way, I just have this, obligation to keep going back and perform.
Yeah, it's been a big thing, just having performers either perform by themselves or go along with in the background of other events. Almost every event now has a bard there just for entertainment. And I can't believe how talented some of these people are. I don't know what they're doing, how they're hacking this, like MIDI keyboards or what, but I'm like, how are you doing that? I'm like, how are you doing that? How are you playing that song?
Yeah, perform is one option that a lot of people use within roleplay events. Another thing that people use actually is dance. There have been, and I've been involved actually in a few dance groups that take place, and sometimes it's like a solo act or sometimes it's a group, but people just take the time to put hours of practice into creating these macros to music. So you can write as part of roleplay, you can dance as part of roleplay, you can play music as part of roleplay, and a lot of the time that is something that's relevant to the character itself, which is really interesting.
Have either of you ever gotten yourselves into a situation where you've used, maybe on the job, maybe in an educational setting, but where you found yourself using something that you've learned or used in roleplay that all of a sudden became applicable to real life.
Oh, goodness, yes. Goodness, yes. So, actually, as far as like MuseCast and ASR kind of overlapping in a way, I started out with dance groups before I even started trying out for plays for a Stage Reborn. So right there, macro creation as part of roleplay went on to apply to doing plays here. Or in real life, for example, because of the writing that I did as part of roleplay, doing that in FF14, on Tumblr, actually it wound me up in a place where now I write for a living. So it's really been helpful in trying to make sure that I get things out clearly, concisely. So in terms of real life opportunities, absolutely. I think this might be a little bit of a reach, but when you are interacting with people in game, out of game, role play, in character, out of character, you're still learning to get along with other people. You're learning to really socialize, to get along with other people, to respect other people, and I think that's an important thing that everybody needs to know. So in terms of like even basic things like that, roleplay has helped. What else? What about you, Remix?
I can say for sure that I have numerous kudos for fan fiction I've written on AO3. I don't know if that counts as real life, but I enjoy the creative writing aspect of it a lot. I work in a creative field, so to me, almost my entire life is about benefiting from using my imagination. And going impromptu, and I've used roleplay, especially this character, Natsuki, as a way to challenge myself as a person, and put myself in situations that I would normally never be in real life. A lot of the aspects that I put into this character, I made to be polar opposites of myself. For example, he's super outgoing, he's super social, super friendly. I am the opposite. He will talk to any stranger, and he's very trusting, and I'm super jaded. I just enjoy practicing being in a completely, as putting myself in that role is a way for me to practice another way of existing. What's it like if I weren't this cynical and jaded and shy? What if I could actually talk to people? And that just gives me an excuse to do it.
And now you can.
Yeah. So
I think for Scoot, to an extent, that's the same with me too. Scoot's extremely outgoing. In real life, I'm very introverted. So, this kind of gives me a chance to go outside of my comfort zone. And same with Nanamo and public speaking. A lot of the times, or at least recently, I've been asked to come to different events and do public speaking. And that's something I would never ever do in real life on my own. But it's helped me. It's helped me lessen that nervousness in those high pressure situations.
I have to agree. The role playing was actually an early hook of me to get into theater arts. Jeez, I was such a greenhorn. I remember putting role playing under my medley of skills on my acting resume. For the department would have you make acting resumes or things, and I noted that. And I remember explaining it one time, and I was just like, well, it's in a video game, and at the time it was in Final Fantasy XI, and I was like, but we track the lore of our characters, we follow specific sets of rules like stage direction, we work together on writing. A lot of it was pretty much script writing exercises that ended up being really similar to the stuff that I would do related to script analysis in Acting 1, Acting 2. And so I was just like, I kind of see that, you think I'm just playing a video game, but a lot of what I'm doing, I'm actually doing when I'm coming to rehearsals. So I think it's a transferable skill of what I'm doing with roleplay. And it's, and I think that that's something that should really be recognized, because I've met people in the time that I've done activities in video games, that I've gone on Final Fantasy XIV into the Balmung server and attended events. I see people that really put a lot of creativity and passion into creating community events and things. And I look at these people and I'm like, oh, well, this person must be like pursuing a career as an event planner, because some of the events they put on, the level of organization and skill that goes behind it, while also trying to respect the atmosphere of the characters, the type of event it is, like that level of attention to detail and how they do that stuff. Like there's no question that those skills apply to real world things. Which, you know, it's wonderful, because, you know, one of the bigger stigmas, I think, is that people see video games as a waste of time. It's, you pay for it to entertain yourself, and it doesn't actually add anything other than making you feel happy. But, you know, folks like us, we look at it and we're just like, yeah, it's a form of entertainment and it makes us happy, but it's also a vehicle for teaching new skills, trying out different things, expanding who you are as a person and as a creative. I mean, I could go on and on about this. Are there any other stories or, you know, things that you've come across in role-playing communities that really show how far role-playing can expand beyond what people traditionally feel it is?
I've got one for you. And this is one that you'll definitely identify with here. So, taking a look at the writing again, and seeing, you know, script writing for Midsummer. I think the two of us and a lot of the other people who worked on the team, not everybody who worked in the editing process of the Midsummer script as we were adapting it, did roleplay, but I think that really helped with both of us to be able to do it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a part of it is like, role players have this really intricate, especially those who have been doing it, you know, even if they're just developing one of their own characters and interacting with other characters, part of really understanding scripts and character analysis in theater is just that character analysis, understanding their history, understanding the character truth. A lot of that is done through like Stanislavski's Magic If, exploring the character's truth so you can be, you know, true in those moments that you act with these intentions. A lot of that is really easy for people, I think, that come from a role-playing background, because they're just like, well, it's very easy for them to pick up a script, read a character, and say, oh, I can imagine how this character is outside of the script. And then in somebody who has just a pure theater arts background, they might have a little bit more trouble doing that, because they are a lot more reliant on the text, because they're used to just relying on the text, the lines that they're speaking. So I think as far as editing A Midsummer Night's Dream goes, you know, having that role-playing background made it a lot easier for some of us to really, you know, look at the script, you know, act out the character in our minds, see how that character would be put together, and be like, you know, make tasteful edits that would make sense to that character while they're having a conversation, versus others that, you know, the other approach would be to try and just make sure that the rhythm of the lines made sense with all the extra cuts and rearrangement.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, before I bore people with too much Shakespeare,
You can never have too much Shakespeare.
So why don't we take a moment to kind of recap what's coming up with MuseCast, and then kind of, you know, tell everybody, go ahead, go through the entire list, tell them specifically where to go to find everything, because what you all do and what you cover and the things that you do with your, you know, in your episodes, that's something that people should really know how to find. So let them know.
All right. Pretty much everything you want to know is at MuseCastXIV.com, MuseCastXIV.com. If you go to the listen page, you could find links to every streaming service we're on. We're on several: iTunes, Spotify, Stitchr, Google Play, and Spotify. I might have said that already.
I think you did.
You can also listen to us on the web. But if you subscribe, you'll get notifications for new updates. We're on Twitter, Facebook as MuseCastXIV. We're on Tumblr. We are very active on Discord. We have our own Discord, which is a very special place to feel like that we created a community there. It's so weird to me that, like, the feeling of like we have like something. There are fans of a thing I created. Like, not that I have fans, but like there are fans of this thing that we made. It's like, wow, it's still kind of mind-boggling for me.
People actually like us.
Yeah, when I first set up the different Discord channels, I wanted it to be not just a fun place to hang out, but a place where anybody could get help. Like, there's channels for lore help, RP help, writing help, anything that you might need help with. People come and they say, how do I resolve this conflict I'm having? How do I resolve this writer's block I'm having? I wanted it to be a resource in that way, not just about hanging out, but about helping each other in this activity that we're doing.
It's a neat place. And to get there, it's a long, complicated URL, so you can just find that on our website, so MuseCastXIV.com. And there's a link over there. And then we have a Twitch, of course, where we, as we said again, are streaming Menphina Madness. The next game, I think, will be on Friday. And so we'll be continuing that stream there. We do storytime streams. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on from MuseCast, and we're looking forward to, putting out more episodes, of course. I think our next one is going to be on open world roleplay events. So that's what you can look forward to over there.
That one, I'm definitely going to tune into that one. That one sounds really interesting. For those that are on a Stage Reborn Discord, we have a channel, hashtag events. If you go, it's under the official category. If you go there now, you'll be able to find all those links and stuff to MuseCast's information. It is going to come down once the video here gets archived on YouTube, but then you'll be able to find all that information in the description for this episode. So any final shout-outs, any final last hurrah, last laugh, last comment?
I want to thank our Patreon donors.
Our Patreon donors are great. They kind of help us when we're in a pinch, and they help us make the podcast even better, just with, like, for example, new audio plugins that we use to make the podcast sound better, or audio equipment, or, recreating studios when need be. And they also help with just kind of keeping things running, Like, podcast hosting can be pretty expensive.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have a Patreon when we first started, so it was just shelling out a lot of money. I didn't have audio equipment at the time. Emmy did, but hosting, everything that we had to buy was just out of pocket. And so eventually we decided to start the Patreon. It's been a big help because things do go wrong. The cable on my headphones snapped once. Emmy just needed a new interface, which caused a delay in episode 38. But one thing that sets us apart from other podcasts is that we have content that is not necessarily time sensitive. So we have the luxury of recording until we get it right. Sometimes there are major screw-ups, and sometimes we just feel like it could be better. But audio quality is something that's really important to us, probably because Emmy's crazy and very, very skilled. And
yeah, that could be.
I've been super lucky to have her as a partner, I believe.
I'm super lucky to have Remix as a partner. She's been heading, like, a lot of our streaming efforts. She streamed for 3 hours today. 3 hours before this happened. So, I mean, man.
Yeah, well, I want to do it every Sunday night as a regular thing. But other than that, we mainly stream RP events. Menphina Madness is just one of them. But I streamed like Valentine's Day event that we had in Gilgamesh. We streamed like Pirate Heritage Day on Lich like twice. We're always looking to stream RP events, so if anyone wants to get in touch with us and they're holding something, especially if it's on a small server, like we love Balmung. Balmung is an amazing place. We want to highlight places that aren't Balmung, very much so. So if you have like an Aether or Primal Data Center RP event, like we'll help you promote it. Because part of, saying that RP isn't just on Balmung is part of saying RP is for everybody, on every server, at every data center, because we're all playing an MMORPG, and in case you forgot, the RP stands for role playing.
Yep.
And we've always believed from the beginning that RP hubs can be good and bad, and we just wanted to believe in the little guys that were just had these small groups on these small servers. I mean, I'm so glad now that at the very least everything is data center wide, so no one need be isolated. But back in the past, it wasn't that easy, so we had to make a lot of effort to be like, hey, there are peers on Adamantoise. Did you know that? Like, whoa, that blows people's minds.
But they're there. I guess for that matter, I'll just give a shout out to all the roleplay communities and just communities in general that we've interacted with. We've been on so many servers, and generally, like, everybody's just been super duper welcoming. So shout out to all the roleplay communities, all the roleplay FCs that we've interacted with. Shout out to Notorious Playable Characters now is the name of our FC. Also to Star on a really personal note, just for being an awesome FC. And shout out to Stage Reborn for hosting us here. And I see Wander already saying shout out to everybody who's in the audience. Shout out to anybody who's in the audience in-game. Shout out to anybody who's in the audience right now on YouTube, on Twitch, just anywhere. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for listening to us. And yeah, thank you. We love you guys.
Hearts, 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 hearts.
Hearts, hearts. Hang on, I'm gonna go dote. I'm gonna go dote in game.
Aww.
Now
come visit us anytime on Discord.
And I posted the link to the website and the link to their Discord server in the YouTube chat here, so that'll also be in the description later, so definitely check them out. And now I have a question for you, since you talked about cross-world events and wanting to promote or participate. Does that mean I can possibly expect a MuseCast challenge team for Aperture Lab Savage?
Now that would be interesting. What kind of team would this be? Just the two of us going through together against this giant robot?
Well, it's going to be a light parties, so a maximum of 4. But if MuseCast wanted to challenge the giant machine and a team of 4...
Now that would be cool. If we can get 2 people together, I'll bet you we could team up with Maelstrom Radio, maybe. I'll see what we can get together.
Definitely, and it's going to be a roleplay friendly event. There's the way it's set up. It's actually made so if people want to go through the challenges mechanically, I believe one room's going to be trivia, another room's going to be a music related room, another room's going to be an emote related room, and then there's the tabletop battle at the end. You have the option of going through it like a mini game or going through it like a role-playing event, and that's what it's going to be open up to. It's worth it to have fun, especially when you're getting prizes for it. All right, well, that brings us to the end of our topics here, and now we're going to move on to our last segment, our community commendations. And today, we are actually, speaking of the subject of role-playing, we're going to be talking about some D&D art. So this month's community commendation goes to Miles Find, or Mills on Twitter. You can follow them at MillsV2. So what Mills did is we have, for those that aren't familiar, on our Discord server, we have self-promotion rooms where we encourage people to share their creativity and community efforts, from visual art to performing arts, gaming streams, everything. There's a whole bunch of rooms, a whole bunch of categories. Share what you do. We want to see it, because you also have a chance to be featured here. So Mills had posted back on May 24th, Mills had joined another D&D game recently where they were going to be running Waterdeep module, both of them, I guess, the 1 to 20 long haul, which is going to be, our team just got Curse of Strahd, so that's going to be a 1 through 10. This one I know is going to be a really long haul. And Mills made tokens for the whole party, and you can see them there. You can go and find the post on Twitter, or you can check out Mills on Patreon, patreon.com/MillsV2Art, and check out the beautiful artwork that Mills does. I love token artwork. Like, that's one of those, when I talk about, I've been using the phrase micro creativity lately, but it's really not micro, because, creating tokens, like I tried to create kind of token art during our D&D campaign, and it was challenging because you have to, you're constrained to make them in a certain size, and to make them look that good is amazing. So definitely, amazing work, Mills. Shout out to you, and you are this month's community commendation. And now it has brought us to the end of the stream where we can all go and relax the rest of our Sunday evening, hopefully. Well, thank you for everyone that joined us or joins us later watching the recording of the video. Remember, A Midsummer Night's Dream auditions are now open for A Stage Reborn. Go to asr.2/talent. Check it out there. All the info on auditioning. We'll have announcements about the show dates and stuff coming up once we get closer to rehearsals. Look out for other world events with the Stage Reborn coming soon, and check out ASR to join to see our opportunities for supporting us on the team, or if you would like to donate to help out a nonprofit. We are a 501c3 charity. If you'd like to support visual and performing arts through transforming the arts, check out ASR to donate, or go to astagereborn.com. You'll be able to find it through there. Thanks a lot for joining us. We'll see you next month we haven't figured out that episode yet, so stay tuned.